we'll shift to the segment number two, which is focused on Yuva, and we have a small quiz for you as well. But before that, people who don't
Quiz.
know Yuva, this it's gonna
I
be
love it.
exciting because I think we can add the Keju element to our show as well. Nikhil sir, before we get on to the quiz, I think it's very important that you talk a bit about Yuva so that our audience knows how amazing it is.
Ever since any time and every time people ask me a question about Yuva, I struggle to kind of put it all down in like one sentence because I always have so much
So
to ask about it.
maybe if we could start with just a small, how did you think of the idea of Yuva? What made it start?
Okay, so you see, Yuva is basically a platform I think is of for and by young people, and I mean it because
Hmm.
most of my team is under 25 in fact, and it was created to be a platform that actually listens to young people, where all platforms that I've always
Hmm.
seen catered to and talk to young people. I've been a professor, as you know, for a little while. I mean, for 7 years, in fact. I used
Right.
to teach journalism at Jai Hind College, and for 7 years. And every single year that I would teach, I would recognize that every young person has so much to say, but there's hardly anyone to listen. So Yuva really was started to be a platform that listens, and we wanted our philosophy is how can we make young people feel less alone by representing stories of authenticity that are of representation of really putting out the truths that they have in their lives. When the world sees Yuva, they see like a platform that focuses on social impact, that focuses on gender, on mental health, and all those things that are important to young people. But for me, it
Hmm.
really is just a representation for of the values that young people have and who they authentically are. And the way that we kind of even find that out is we do this thing called the Yuva Roadshow, where we travel across the country. I have now, over the last 2 years, been to over 100 colleges across, I think, 40 cities, listened to over 10,000 young people.
Wow.
And as I understand what they're going through or what they want, Yuva becomes really the platform to give them those stories. Sometimes represent their own stories, and sometimes uh, you know find new ways of telling their stories back to them, so they feel less alone. Because we really need a platform that genuinely understands young people and doesn't talk down to them, but
Hmm.
is friends with them and talks to them and is at the same level as them. And that's what Yuva is really trying to do. It's trying to be a friend to young people by authentically representing the issues.
Wow. And I'm just curious through all these experiences, how do you think it has changed you? What has been your biggest takeaway from all of these conversations?
You know what's interesting, Anshika? So, like, I have been changed. I started Yuva because I was changed just before it. My change led me to start Yuva. Versus the other way
Hmm.
around. Because when I was at YRF and I was doing fairly okay there. I was heading content and development for Y Films. I'd made some very successful web shows. That's how I even came to your
Hmm.
college, if you remember. I made
Yes.
Bang Baaja Baaraat, Man's World, Ladies Room, Papu Papa, and I remember that day at IP where I was suddenly in a room full of I think 300 to 400 girls who all had questions about Man's World, and I was just like, dude, I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that the show has had this kind of an impact that
It was
so
such
many.
a great show. If people find it today, I think that was my first, experience into under. I can never forget that show. It's just brilliant.
It meant a lot to me. It was moments like that, honestly, that even happened before Yuva. Me being in a room of young people at IP, where suddenly I'm just astounded to see the impact that one show we had made miles away in Mumbai. That was one of the first. It was, in fact, Man's World was actually the third web series ever made in India. The first being
Yeah,
Permanent.
that's right.
the second being Baked, and the third being Man's World. And and to see the kind of impact it had had in the minds of young people, and that show was about gender equality. So for me, I realized that
Hmm.
this, perhaps, like always, this whole idea has for the longest time existed, that that you can't, like, films need to be for entertainment, and social messaging is basically for PSAs. And I always,
Yeah.
we tried something at Y Films and YRF, at that time in 2015, 2016, 14, 15, 16, where we said, what if they were one thing? And, we made entertaining socially, I call it a socially conscious entertainment, and it worked. It was a massive hit. It made me realize that people can consume, people. I mean, I don't know. We might be able to actually reach out to people and change the way they think, or at least make them feel something about what's going on in the world through the power of content and the power of entertainment.
Correct.
And that's really where, I mean, all of this had happened. And I said, I used to teach a lot, and teaching really had a huge impact on me as a human being. It kind of made me realize what I cared about, what genuinely really makes me who I am as a person. It taught me about empathy, it taught me about mental health, it taught me about listening, which I consider all to be really important to who I am as a person. And that's really what led me to Yuva. And after that, I mean, it was a hypothesis when I started Yuva that, mental health is going to be a really important thing for young people when I started this 2 years ago. In fact, it's interesting. Like this month and this week is 2 years for me having started Yuva.
Hmm.
you
Oh
know,
wow,
yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So, no, it was, I started it in like a friend's office. It was just me and one intern, and we had like a whiteboard where we made a lot of plans about the future of this company, and some of it has come true, and some of it, we hope will come true at some point. But the hypothesis was proven right, that there is a huge conversation about mental health and well-being of young people, about what they feel, about the issues that are important to them that are not being spoken of in public at large. And Yuva is trying to have that conversation.
Wow, wonderful. For those of you who are listening, please, please, please go like. At least I've liked it on YouTube and Facebook, and the spelling is YUVAA Yuva. And please share with your friends. I just end up tagging most of my friends when I see Yuva's content. But please show your love. It's just amazing. And Nikhil, so you're doing a commendable job. I do tell you in person whenever we meet, or whenever we have a communication. But really, when you said that one line, that it's a platform which listens to people, I remember telling you that the day I couldn't sleep because of Boys Locker Room, I woke up to a video from Yuva talking about it, and not talking about it. If you see that video clearly, there are girls who are feeling what they're saying. Like, I saw someone, that girl's gonna cry, in one of the segments, and I paused it for 1 second. I felt like I see myself in the mirror, and that really does hit people when you see content that strong. So thank you for that. And we'll now, make it a little bit
Very
light
kind
and fun, and we'll
of you,
move.
Anshika.
Yeah, please go on. Go on.
No, no, I'm just, thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's a lot to, uh, and yeah, I mean, thank you so much.
We have 10 fun questions on films, and it's a quiz to understand you better. So, number one, who's your favorite movie critic and why?
Wow, these are tough questions. You're going to put me into a spot.
See, I'm
Um,
planning to give people competition.
oh
No, no.
man, thankfully you've not said rapid fire. Otherwise I'd really be in a spot. I'll be honest. So the two, I would say it's a tie between two people. One is
Yeah,
Anupama Chopra, of course. I think she is,
for
you
sure.
and I think both the reasons for both the people that I'll mention are actually, I like them for the same reason. One is Anupama Chopra, the other is Mayank Shekhar. You know,
Hmm.
and both of them I really love and appreciate. Purely because even when they criticize films, it comes from a place of love for films. you know
Correct.
and that's what I really love about, when I read Mayank's articles, or when I see Anu's I'm sorry, I call her Anu because we work together, so yeah, or when I see Anu's videos, it's really, even when they kind of talk about a film that they did not like, it's never coming from a place of malice. It always comes from a place of, I wish this film, I mean, it always comes from a place of, I wish this film had done better, or a place of love
Correct.
for the
Yeah.
art of cinema, or Bollywood, I would say at large. Okay, I mean, the best way to really put it, I always, and I don't, this is just my very, very much my opinion, but I think to criticize Bollywood, you need to
Hmm.
love Bollywood. And, and I don't mean this, I don't mean movies in general, I mean Bollywood. To really criticize a film made by Rohit Shetty, you need to first, buy into the fact that there is a film like Rohit Shetty, and it operates on certain principles which might be different than the principles of the world in which Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan existed. You have to
Hmm.
buy into that. If you look at Bollywood films from the same lens, as the rest of the world, you will not like any Bollywood film, or you would like some really rare Bollywood films. Having said that, of course, it's really important to call out, when films go wrong in the way that they represent certain castes or religions, or
Right.
women, or gender, at large. So that's important, that, that forms a large part of criticism. But I still think that, uh, um, at least when it comes to Bollywood, if you don't love Bollywood, it's unfair for you to review or criticize Bollywood, because you are. I mean, there is a beautiful golden history of what makes Bollywood Bollywood, and it operates
Hmm.
outside of the world in which, like, at a very simple basic difference, just and I mean, it's not a romantic thing I'm saying. I think it's a very valid and fair point, because when you think about it, no country in the world has an interval. There are no, in
Yeah.
Bollywood, when you write a film, you're not writing one film. You're actually writing two films. Two parts of a film. You're writing a film till interval, and
Yeah.
you're writing a film after interval. So when, even when writers write in Bollywood, right, and just so, there's not just a one three-act structure. You have, two three-act structures. So it's a six-act structure. You have a three-act till interval, and you have a three-act from interval to the climax. So that's also the, so it's a different way of operating.
Wow.
It's a different way of thinking. It's a different, world you buy into. So I mean, that's why, I think Mayank and Anupama understand that, and I think they do a terrific job of really going, looking at these films not just with their mind but also their hearts, which I think is really important.
Wow, that's great. Wow, we never looked at it like that. Okay, so the movie you last saw and absolutely loved.
Uh, well, okay, very recent one. I mean, I can't remember now the last films I saw in the theater. It already seems so long. But I saw this film called The Half of It on Netflix, and it was
Yeah.
such a lovely film. One of, I think, one of the best coming of age romantic comedies that I have seen in perhaps ever. I won't even say like in the long time. I think it definitely is among my favorite coming of age movies now. It's a queer love story, but I mean, it's a story about love. It's not just a story of love, which is the most beautiful part about it. It's a story about love. It's a story about friendship. It's a story about identity. It's a story of misfits coming of age, which is always my favorite genre, because I think in many ways all of us are misfits. At least I consider myself
Hmm.
one always. I've always found myself as 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 not really fitting in, and being on the fringes of everything that I kind of do, with one step in and one step out. Uh, I mean, I love the film. It's such a tender, sweet, beautiful film, and it's been the highlight of my content watching experience in the lockdown. It really, that the day that I was watching it, it just made me feel so happy. I was so happy that this film exists. uh, Watch it. I think
Wow.
it's just it'll really. make your day.
Okay. Favorite director and why?
This is a very tough one. I mean, after a point of time, I think you kind of stop like, I don't know, man. I think, when you're in the film industry, right? Like after a point of time, you stop having heroes because you get like really scared that at some point they're gonna all be called out. So you even you stop committing yourself to like, okay, this is my favorite because kal ba chale ki arey, this guy is involved in this or this guy's done that. So it's a very scary time to like have favorites.
Yeah.
The last favorite I had was Aju Hirani, and and then the news came out, and I was just heartbroken. Uh, you know, so overall, I think that two directors that I've really admired internationally are Richard Linklater and Richard Curtis, both Richards, interestingly.
Yeah.
Both of them have given me a lot. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my understanding of cinema and love and movies and writing and hope has come from them.
Hmm.
Uh, Later, because of the way he presents, you know, he doesn't make movies about life. He makes life, on cinema. I don't know
Wow.
sense, but that's just what he does. He creates a new life in his movies. And Boyhood is such a perfect example. He just mirrors it. He doesn't
Yeah.
really go about trying to make a movie. He just puts a mirror to life, which is what I love about it. And it just, I mean, his movies make fill me up with so much hope because of how real they are. On the other hand, Richard Curtis, I love for the exact opposite reason. His movies remind us that this is perhaps not life, but this is what life could be. I mean, this is what love could
Hmm.
be. This is what hope could look like. And I completely, absolutely adore these two filmmakers. Um, in India, for what it's worth, I'll be honest, I am a huge fan of Karan Johar.
Hmm. Yeah,
I still think that, and not just as a director, but also as a producer. I think some of my favorite films of the last, 15 to 20 years has been films that he has either made or, I mean, he's directed or produced from,
Hmm.
K3G, which I think is the quintessential Bollywood film of all time, to Wake Up Sid, to like this underrated film Ek Main Aur Ek Tu, which I just genuinely love.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and I just think that it doesn't have enough. Yeah, it doesn't have enough following for some reason. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think Karan Johar, I completely, absolutely adore, and I hope that he makes another K3G. That's what I really want out of it. But yeah,
That
I
would
think
be
I
must.
he knows what he's doing, and that's what I just love about.
Hmm.
There's something that I get every time I go into a Karan Johar film, and I like going into a Karan Johar film to get that. Like it's a certain feeling that I just kind of wait for, and I'm like I go there and I feel happy that okay, this is Bollywood. I consume Bollywood every time, I go into a film of
Yeah.
Karan. So I love him for that.
Okay, so one quick thing that is, in your opinion, because you worked in the Indian film industry, unique to the industry, and one thing you absolutely don't like.
One thing that's unique, I, one thing that's unique, I think, about Bollywood or this industry is that everybody is writing a film in their head. I don't think that there is anybody you'll meet in Bombay or in the vicinity of Lokhandwala and Dheri who is not writing a film in their head, which according to them is a huge success, and they just have to write it. So even if those films are not on paper, even if nobody's ever read them, in the heads of all the people in Bombay, that film is a huge success, and that film will come out someday. And it's true for everybody. On when you go into a film set, you could meet literally anybody on that set, even the person who comes to give you the tea, and that chai wala dada will also have like a film idea in his head, which is a super hit, and which is what I love about it. Everyone's writing a movie in their head, and what I hate about uh, I don't know. I don't want to sound condescending, but what I really hate about, I'll be honest. I think this idea of struggling is just like a I mean, it was valid 20 years ago or 25 years ago, where films were the you had to come to Bombay and stand in a line and stand in an audition to get found or to
Mm.
get discovered. But today, I mean, when with the internet, with a mobile phone in your hand, I just think struggling makes no sense, yeah. I think like you can genuinely, instead of struggling, just do things. Just like make that film. Like, you are an actor, go on TikTok, do 100,000 videos there, get a following, you'll get discovered. You're a content creator, make a YouTube video. You're a filmmaker, make 50 short films through using your phone. But don't wait for people to give you opportunities. This idea of struggle is just romanticized too
Mm.
much, and I think people now need to really get over it. So I think we need to just, I think like the big
Mm.
bridge that people need to cross is from wanting to do work to actually just doing work. And it's not that difficult, I can tell you.
Agree. I agree, I agree. And that's where we all of us sort of hold ourselves back, right? Just before doing something, the amount of work that our head takes to tell ourselves that, listen, just get it done. That's just so difficult.
And that's true for anything. That's true for anything, but even
Hmm,
more true
hmm, hmm.
for art and entertainment. Yeah, like look at any big filmmaker to get to where they have gone. They have made 40 short films before, yeah, or at least like few short films, if not 40. And this was done at a time where the phone wasn't ubiquitous. And today, if you have a phone and you have a video, you have a camera on that phone, and you have your video space to record videos.
Yeah.
It's a crime that you're not making films and short films and putting yourself out there. And it's a crime. It's an excuse, I would say.
And we'll touch upon that in the third segment as well when we'll talk about Bollywood and just working there. But just finishing our quiz. Do you remember the first movie that you ever saw, Nikhil sir?
Uh, I don't remember the first movie that I ever saw, but I do remember that it
Hmm.
was. So it is. I know that it would be one of two one of two movies or one of two. I think I remember the first movie that I saw in a cinema. That was.
Yeah.
It was a movie called McKenna's Gold. It was a movie that
Okay.
uh, my father had taken me to when I was, I think 3 or 4 or something, or 5 maybe. And it was an English movie. We were in Lucknow. My father was a big fan of Gregory Peck. My dad was a huge fan of Gregory Peck because he looked like Devanand,
Mhm.
according to my father. And so he used to watch every Devanand film, and then he also used to watch every Gregory Peck film because Gregory Peck reminded me him of Devanand. So at home, my first film 100% was a Devanand film because my father has been obsessed with Devanand for since I was a child, and I think one of the big reasons I even got into movies was because my father showed me so many Devanand films when I was a child, and I remember McKenna's
Wow.
Goat as like this big experience of my first theater movie. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
those are the memories that I have.
Isn't that better than having your first theater experience of it being? Mine was Kya Cool Hai Hum. I clearly remember.
Oh my God, I don't know what I don't know why you still kind of like films after having that as your first experience. I don't know if I would have watched that as my first film. Would I ever have watched a second film? That's a big question. So I was fortunate. My father was a big fan of English and as I said, Devanand films and English films as well.
Mhm.
And all the films that he used to like were all just good films. Fortunately, so I got that upbringing.